I didn't have a lot of time. So up at that point, I'd had 22 weeks off gym in the 12 months prior, which is a long time. That's nearly half a year. All of the other lads that I'd be competing against in these Olympic trials, I think they'd had about 6 or 7 weeks off in total. So I was on the back foot. But I did it. I navigated it really well with Sergey. We got to the start line. The first trial, I think, might have been the end of February, and it was really weird going to Lilleshall for the first time. So I went to Lilleshall, and it was strange. I'd not been there for a few years. I'd been going there since I was 8 years old. Lilleshall National Sports Centre, and it was funny. I can remember being there and thinking, yeah, I'm glad this isn't my life anymore. You know, it was great when I was younger and I was competing and I was, you know, on the GB team going to all these major competitions, but that lifestyle of just being stuck in a room and like with the TV on your own, just training and then back to your room, spending time by yourself, I was so happy that wasn't my life anymore, which I think for me really confirmed that I was ready to move on and retire that year. But I did well in that first competition. I was really proud of myself, did some good routines. That was the first trial. My routines and the level of gymnastics I was doing, it wasn't competitive with the other guys that were really going for the Olympic Games, but I felt proud of myself. I still did a good level of gymnastics. And the next competition, which was, I think, 4 weeks later, I did even better this time. And on high bar in particular, I was in a really good place. So I'd put a lot of work in on high bar. And it's interesting, like, when I was younger, my approach to gymnastics was basically to do more work than anybody else and do a ridiculous amount of numbers. So I'd done so many routines before that it was almost like autopilot, and it gave me a great chance of doing my routine. But going back again to like watching gymnasts like Christian and maybe Dan Purvis and Dan Keatings and how they kind of approached things towards the end of their career, because they didn't have the legs left in their bodies, they knew that they just couldn't put their foot right down on the pedal for 2 months in a build-up because they'd burn out by the end of it. And so what I tried to do was really kind of make sure that the goes that I did in the gym really counted. You know, I might go on a high bar session and only have 5 goes, but I really tried to have 5 successful goes. And actually going into that second Olympic trial on high bar, I probably did my most consistent training I've ever done. So I remember counting it up, and I'd done 99 release and catch elements in the half routines and routines I did since January in that build-up, and I caught 99 out of 100, which is an amazing stat and amazing numbers. And actually in the competition, I missed my most easy release and catch. It was a Markov, and I can remember laughing at it because I'd been so consistent in those 3 months. But yeah, I was in a great place. Did well again in that trial, like I said, and there was going to be a third Olympic trial, and I really wanted to compete on 6 apparatus, so I was building up to compete on 6 pieces at that point. But I had a phone call off the head national coach, and he said, look, Sam, you know, I commend you for all your efforts and what you've done, and the fact that you've turned up to these 2 trials and you've taken it so seriously, you've done a brilliant job. But unfortunately, we can't offer you a place to compete in the third and final trial because you're just not in contention for the Olympics. And, you know, I was really gutted. I was disappointed at that point. But I understood, and it was the right decision for sure. And I kind of took a little bit of time after that to reassess what I was going to do. I was back on the building site.